When gaslighting is used as a legitimate means of winning a woman's love, that means the play is The Taming of the Shrew. And that means it's time for Shakespeare Reviews, the movie show where we discuss movies inspired by the works of the immortal bard. And in this case, it couldn't be more bonkers. John Cleese and Sarah Baydell star in the classic tale of Petruchio, a money-hungry, terrible person attempts to win over the heart, mind, and reality of Kate, a shrew. Play's words, not ours. Ostensibly, it's about getting Kate married off so her sister Bianca can find happiness. But that is completely not what happens. Let's discuss the 1980s Taming of the Shrew. Andrew, what are your thoughts?
Well, I find it interesting because last week we did Romeo and Juliet for Valentine's Day. And then this week, well, what do we do for all those people who are single, like me? We jump in and do The Taming of the Shrew. So a
movie about people who should have stayed single.
That is true. Very, very true. With my dating history, boy, Anyway, that's a side story. No. This was an inspired choice. I was not familiar with this. Now, this, of course, being more of a TV movie series that they put on
for the BBC.
Yeah, very, very interesting. I honestly, thanks for introducing me to this because this was.
That's right. You didn't know about it.
I did not. I missed that. It showed on PBS back in the day. They had a good deal. Do you know the history of how this was made? The series?
Yes. So this was part of a long-running, it's about 2 years old series in the BBC at the time, and John Cleese had never performed Shakespeare before. He was not a fan of Shakespeare. He didn't even watch any of the prior episodes of the series, and he was a completely controversial choice. It was so much controversy about him, and it's like, no, we don't want you. And yet they got him, and he is, for my money, my favorite Petruchio that has ever trod the boards or the silver screen, or even the small screen. I like him better than Burton in the Elizabeth Taylor version, and that one's phenomenal. We'll get into that at some point. Maybe we've already covered it. Oh yes, they totally do. The Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton version plays up the sexiness. Absolutely. Whereas this one, it is, let's really play with the wordplay and just show that not only is Petruchio a terrible person, and he is, and Cleese leans into it. I mean, I am here in my John Cleese cosplay today, people. I mean, that is how much I love this part. But thank you, fabulous Harry. I love the feathers. They show Kate. Sarah Baydell makes Kate deserving of hatred. She is also not a good person. This is two of the worst people you can imagine finding each other. This is, you know what? This is Joe Exotic level of insanity, meeting Carol Baskin and yet finding love. I mean, it's that amazing. And the set for the BBC is amazing.
Oh yeah, totally.
It is a gloriously beautiful set.
Yeah. I love the history of the production because it was created by Cedric Messina, the producer and creator, and he worked hard to get this made. There was, at that point in history, there were some plays that had never been recorded for public consumption. Yes. It was a big deal to try to get every Shakespeare play recorded, and it was.
And there's only 37 of them, people.
Yeah, right. It was an uphill battle with the BBC. He made it happen. He got funding. He worked with PBS and in America and got American funding. And here's the rarity there: from 3 corporate sponsors. I mean, normally you see, sponsored by this person with a grant from this group or something like that at the most.
Yes.
When you look at the beginning of this, it said funding by Exxon, Metropolitan Life, and Morgan Bank, and then it lists several other groups too. And it's just, it really went above and beyond. I mean, give Messina a lot of credit for this, because he spent several years on this project.
This really on that presages Masterpiece Theatre, now Masterpiece, and things such as Victoria, which they now have on BBC, where Viking Cruises will sponsor it, and it's always, nearly always, very prestigious sounding companies and firms. It's rarely the Coca-Colas. Although Exxon,
it's a huge boon for the arts at the time. And, of course, the name Shakespeare carries a lot of artistic weight. They were saying, hey, we're doing Shakespeare. And the corporate groups, they wanted to say, okay, as long as it's traditional Shakespeare. I know there's a lot of crazy artistic, interpretations of movies and TV shows and plays going on now. We don't want that. So, and Messina was like, oh, that's how I want it too. So we're fine. And for the first 2 years, that's what they did. He used costumes for the time period that the play was depicting, and used traditional approaches. Well, it got some criticism at the time, and they had some trouble getting certain directors to sign on for the episodes, because they're like, well, this is like doing a book report. I don't want to do this. So, yeah, he ended up leaving after 2 seasons, and in walks Jonathan Miller as the new producer. And this movie here was the first one shown in season 3. Not the first one filmed, but the second one, but the first one shown. And he was like the polar opposite of Messina. He ended up doing Renaissance costumes, no matter where it was, what time period it was depicted. And he looked more at the psychology of the characters, and really opened things up to interpretation. I mean, not doing a modern feminist view of Taming of the Shrew or anything like that, but still adding some artistic interpretation to things. And it brought in some good directors, and people credit him, Jonathan Miller, with really bringing this together and making it explode into great popularity in the US and around the world. So great things. And as a side note, you can also get the whole series on DVD and stream it from a few places, all of the episodes.
Amazon.
Great versions of every Shakespeare play.
Yeah, you can watch all of this on Amazon. This is not an ad for them, by the way. And
there are other places too. But
Amazon, if you want to give us your money, we will take it.
Oh, we
are not
totally will. We
will sell out for you.
Yeah.
I will ask Alexa everything.
And just a quick bit of trivia. The other interesting thing that they did was, because American television was different than British, they had to worry about timing and commercials and all of that kind of thing to do it differently. They filmed filler starting in the 3rd season, and that was kind of interesting too, where they filmed a 2-minute introduction, and followed by interviews with the director and a cast member for each episode. And, that wasn't always shown in England. Sometimes it was. But in America, they would just edit that down depending on how much time they had. And they could keep the whole episode. And it was a brilliant thing to do at that time. And it worked. So, yeah, I mean, that being said, great production. And I have to say, Miller was also the one who really fought hard to get John Cleese. Because, like you said, he'd never done Shakespeare before. He had to convince him, saying, hey, we're doing a new approach. Let's look at Petruchio from a psychological perspective, what he's trying to do. And it really that intrigued him, and he got in there. And some of the actors in here ended up in future John Cleese movies because of, I think partly because of this influence. I mean, he meets some of them, and I think he had a really good time. It was a great production. And again, thank you for introducing this to me. I was really pleased with it. It was very different than the earlier versions of Taming of the Shrew, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. It's not nearly as romantic. They don't spend loving shots on a trampoline. They don't have a sexy pillow fight.
Yeah.
It is violent. It is dirty, and at least for Cleese's part, he consulted a psychiatrist on how to do this. I'm going to quote right here. According to Cleese, who consulted a psychiatrist who specialized in treating shrews, Petruchio doesn't believe in his own antics, but in the craftiest and most sophisticated way he needs to showcase certain things about her behavior. He takes one look at her and realizes that here is the woman for him. But he has to go through the process of reconditioning her before anything else. So he just behaves as outrageously as she does in order to make her aware of the effect that her behavior has on other people. Kate needs to be made happy. She's quite clearly unhappy at the beginning of the play, and then extremely happy at the end because of what she has achieved with Petruchio's help. Basically, John Cleese is saying gaslighting works. But he's backing it up with psychiatry. He's backing it up with psychiatry.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, it's definitely an interesting take, and it's certainly a little more subdued compared to other versions. But I don't mind that. I still thought it was a very interesting version, and yeah, I loved also the acting overall I thought was very good.
Superb.
Very good character actors, like the British tend to do. Some of them certainly had good experience with Shakespeare before. You probably don't recognize many of them because they are just character actors that you are in a lot of British television. You might recognize a few, like Jonathan Cecil, who was in History of the World Part 1, and Barry Lyndon. Well, of course, there's Frank Thornton from Are You Being Served, if you like that British television show, and he was also in Gosford Park. Oh, and John Franklin Robbins, who is Baptista, who you might recognize from the 80s television shows, Jim Henson, the Storyteller. He was in an episode of that. And in one of the last episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation, Preemptive Strike, where he played the older McKee. You know that last episode of Ensign Rowe where he ends up leaving? That old McKee that she befriended? That's him. Yeah, I got to get a Star Trek reference in every episode if we can. You understand?
I'm here for it.
And I quickly recognized Angus Lenny, who's Curtis from The Great Escape, a movie from 1963, a classic.
Yes, he is, yes.
I saw him, he plays the mole, and I just saw him, I was like, oh my God, it's the mole! But that's just me, because I'm crazy. But yeah, it was, so, really good character actors. I don't know. What did you think of the acting? Because, I mean, you have a better perspective than I do on this.
It is superb and... Good.
That's what I thought.
It was done as a play. I mean, more so than most other productions. This was treated as a play and not cinema. It was an early example of how cinema can come into the world of the theater.
Nice.
And I mean, not to such extremes as they do with Hamilton, obviously, which is actually filming a Broadway show, but rather let us take the text directly, do the text, and make the most elaborate sets we can possibly make. For instance, Baptista's living room is modeled on the set of The Music Lesson. Artisans are brought in to influence everything from the set to costuming to artwork that hangs on the walls. This is made with love, and it shows. And even though the budget was not outrageous by American standards, certainly, this was pretty high bang for the buck BBC money being spent here. They believed in the project, and it really shows. It's not like, let's say, Fourth Doctor era Doctor Who, where the Doctor will walk through a door, close it, and the entire office shakes.
Yeah, right?
That is not happening here. And it's the same production company. No, this is Shakespeare, so we believe in it. Yes, right. But they didn't want 20th century notions of feminism to play into it. They also didn't want the era in which it takes place to play into it, as you were saying before, but dress it up more Renaissance. Go with Renaissance values and concepts of psychology and how women were treated and how men and women treated each other. And all of that plays into it. And it's so beautiful because it also, using what we know of 40-year-old psychology, they were genuinely able to craft something that had not been seen of let's play it in the Renaissance, let's play it in Shakespeare's version of Italy, but without going into feminism, without going into psychology. Let all of that play in there. Let all of it kind of undergird it, even though they deny it. I think it's so good, and this is my like I've said it. This is my favorite version of Taming of the Shrew that exists. And it's largely because they go bonkers. They go completely bonkers.
You know, and you said that you really like John Cleese's Petruchio. I mean,
I do.
He was pretty controversial at the time because people were so used to him as a comedian. And
yes,
men seemed as that role anyway. I mean, maybe another role, but that role surprised people. But he really showed his acting chops there. He really said, "I'm an actor, not just a comic."
And he played it with comedy too.
He
played it.
He played both.
There's so much comedy in this.
There is, but I mean, it also has some seriousness too. I mean,
oh yes.
I'd love your opinion on this. I've always found that comedians can make some of the best dramatic actors.
Look at Robin Williams.
Yes, a very good example. I mean, they're known for doing comedy, and they come in and do a drama, and you're just like floored. You're like, this is unbelievable. And why is that? I mean, do you have a theory on why that is? Because I'd really be curious.
Yes, I actually do. Thank you very much for asking. As someone who is, and I know this is hard to understand and appreciate, a comic actor. I know.
With a hairy chest.
Yes. Thank you. I'm trying to go with the full Robin or the full Cleese on this. Either way.
You are.
As someone who fancies himself to be a comedic actor, you have to, on a regular basis, make the absurd believable. And whether that is over the top sadness and grief or just silliness, it has to be believable in the world that you are creating. So in all art, in all theater, there is a willing suspension of disbelief. Comedians, or at least comic actors, are particularly skilled at getting in there and say, come, this is the absurdity I'm asking you to accept. Now that you've accepted it, I'm going to change your expectations. And it's all about upsetting expectations. Comedians are doing magic tricks constantly, and that's why we laugh, because we are shocked and delighted by the unexpected coming out. And a comic actor who's known for Monty Python, who's known for being Sir Lancelot in Monty Python and the Holy Grail, known for being a member of the Palestinian People's Party, who's known for doing all of that, now coming in and playing somebody with a lot of pathos, a huge amount of rage, more than a bit of misogyny, even for the period that it's taking place, but then doing it all with a wink and a smile. That was unexpected, and audiences, if my own experience of 20 years ago when I saw this the first time in university, is if that is any example to go by, audiences are delighted by it. So this is amazing. And yes, the muckety mucks at BBC may have thought that he was a controversial choice, but that controversy paid off.
Yes, it caused people to watch. They were curious about this, and I think it really helped Cleese's career.
Oh, no doubt. At the very least, as an artist to be reckoned with.
Yes, and it expanded people's view of what he was capable of. And I think that that really helped with some of his later roles. So, yeah, I mean, all in all, I'm just going to say all in all, this was great. I didn't have much of a problem with it at all. The acting was all very first-rate British character actors all around. The production for the time was not about as good as you could expect or hope for.
Oh, truly. Like that set would work today.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean,
it would. I mean, they might add a little more to it. There were places where it was a little bland, perhaps. But honestly, for the stage, that's the norm. I mean, now they would probably Hollywood it up a little more, but even
at the very least, have a nice matte painting in the background. To give you a bit more of the scenery of the area.
Exactly. Add some
Not
stuff, matte painting, maybe some more pictures on the walls, maybe some more, throw some stuff up. I mean, get those.
Make it ostentatious.
Opulence. Go that way. But I get that. But it even then, if you think about a Shakespeare play, when you see it, you don't normally go for the little details. It is, it is spread out. The beautiful thing about how this was filmed, like you said, was, it was like every scene, you had the best seat in the house.
Yes.
So it's like, this scene, well, the best seat is going to be right here. Here's where we're putting the camera. Okay, for this scene, the best seat would be way over here, and we're going to put the camera there, except zoom in so you get a really close-up view. It was that kind of approach that I think worked great.
And there are so few cuts. And you can tell that it was, let's just obviously take the best cut for things.
Yeah.
But let's do this entire scene. Let's do the entire will you, nil you, marry me.
For
all in one.
Efficiency and the cost, yeah.
Let's do it all in one. Shoot that maybe 3 times.
Yeah.
Now let's do the individual close-ups.
Yeah.
And then have one handheld camera following them for it.
Yeah.
And then splice it all together of just, here's the best take. But that handheld is also following them the entire time, regardless of what the establishing shot is, and then just cutting. Because what they did is, in terms of the camera work, this was inspired. They shot it as a 4-camera setup sitcom. They have 3 stationaries and a handheld that can follow the actors. And that is an amazing way of doing it. Let's get the best take all at one time from every angle. So we're getting her close-up, we're getting his close-up, we're getting an establishing shot, and we're also running around like a loon if something great is going to happen. I love this play. And that is to say, Taming of the Shrew is one of the problematic plays. If you were looking at the works of Shakespeare.
Why?
Along with The Merchant of Venice and Othello, it is one of the problem shows, because we tend to, as a society, say we no longer believe in the way things are done over here. We now want to do it this way. But it is a brilliant window in on the mores of Elizabethan life, while also saying things are changing. This is one of the shows, problematic though it may be, it is saying times are changing and we have to be willing to accommodate it to an extent. Otherwise, you are a buffoon.
Well, I guess doesn't it just change over time, where back in the day, certain characters would have been revered or applauded, and now they're, at some point they were pitied, and now they're kind of despised. It just
Indeed.
It changes over time, which it still works. It's how you look at it.
Oh, absolutely. You are 1000% correct on that.
He shoots. He's good.
Let's take on more of the problem shows. I think we can solve everything.
I think we can. That's our goal, to solve every problem in the Shakespeare world.
We're gonna do it.
One play at a time. Yes.
So, Andrew. Oh no! Go ahead, please. I interrupted you.
I was just going to say that I was so surprised by this. It was so much better than I was expecting. I had, I was like, BBC, it's going to be okay, and it was surprisingly good. So thanks again for introducing me to this, and I have to say I am definitely a fan as well. I really liked it.
I am very glad of that. I was introduced to this in a Shakespeare class back at university, a little bit more than 20 years ago at this point, in the year 2000. I
was wondering why I hadn't seen this in school when I was a kid. I'm kind of wondering why, if that is shown nowadays more in school.
I don't know. The Shakespeare teacher, she had this as her favorite version of Shrew. And we also watched the Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor version. And it was comparing and contrasting the two as well. We watched, I think, that one on Monday and then this one on Wednesday. It was a Monday, Wednesday, Friday class. And then on Friday, discuss them and the comparisons and contrasting between them, and what else they told us about the characters, about the periods also that they were made in. Because, what is it, 14, 15 years separate the two versions, I believe. It was, what, 65?
Yeah.
I want to say was the Elizabeth Taylor version. And if I'm not, internet, check me. let me know in the comments.
But yeah, I mean, you're right. And that's a great way to learn this type of thing. I mean, would you recommend the audience watching now that they try to get both versions and watch them back to back? I mean, is that a good approach, do you think?
Oh, I think so as well. And then also add in 10 Things I Hate About You.
Yes.
I mean, put that in here because they are all of a piece.
You get a better understanding of the play itself by seeing the different perspectives about it.
Yes, and also with 10 Things I Hate About You, Larry Miller.
Yes. And I mean, yeah, it's a good way to end any movie watching binge, because you're going to end with a smile. So yes.
Oh, goodness. So Andrew, what would you give this? If you were to rank this in the pantheon of Shakespearean drama, if you were to put this on a pedestal, on a shelf, mayhap one like I have here, if you were to give this a ranking of some sort, if there were stars or statuettes or something else that you wanted to give this play, a numerical ranking, an alphabetical one, mayhap something altogether different, what, Andrew McKee, Irish Bard, would you give this version of The Taming of the Shrew?
I would have to give this a full set of John Cleese chest hair.
That's a lot of chest hair. Full set of John Cleese chest hair.
Full amount, yes.
And this episode particularly has a lot of chest hair.
Yeah, we went. I tried to do a John Cleese, but you out-Cleesed me. I
out-Cleesed you.
The hat and the feathers. I mean, that's perfect. I was just when you came up with that, I was in the intro. I was trying to. I was trying not to make sound because it was tough. It was tough. That was brilliant.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I will not give it the full John Cleese chest hair because I've been doing that this entire
You already have. Yeah.
I've been giving the audience what they want. And so I will say I will give this a full hand under a foot. Yeah. That's I mean, I'm not sure if that's actually a good thing to give it. Now I'm questioning my entire worldview. Oh.
With a hat
this is problematic.
With a hat
full hat full of feathers. Ah, goodness. Well, friends, if you have enjoyed Shakespeare Reviews half as much as Andrew and I enjoy doing it for you, then we've enjoyed it twice as much as you do, and that's called maths. And thus, whatever you feel the show is worth, a 1, a 5, a 10, for a 50, we will come and give you our own Jean Cleese burlesque show in your front garden. Throw it into our hat. And by hat, I mean go to patreon.com/lifesaffair and become a Patreon of the arts. Also, please follow us on all of the social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Go like, subscribe, smash the bell, ring the bell, click the bell. Do something with a bell. There's a bell. And also, if you'd like to follow me, you can follow me, your friendly neighborhood Shakespeare, on Facebook, Shakespeare Approves, Instagram at Shakespeare.approves, Twitter, Shakes Approves. I'm on TikTok, Shakespeare.approves. I mean, I'm not flossing yet on TikTok. I do that here because I love you. But I might in future, you never know. And you can also go to my own personal Patreon at patreon.com/Shakespeare or buy me a cup of coffee at coffee.com/Shakespeare. That's everything about me. That's a lot. Andrew, where can the good people at home find you?
Well, of course, I'm always on Life's Affair at facebook.com/Life's Affair and patreon.com/Life's But for me, also on my own Facebook page, facebook.com/The Irish Bard, theirishbard.com, patreon.com/Irish Bard, and you can hear some of my music at theirishbard.bandcamp.com.
Oh yeah, go listen to it. Because if music is the food of love, play on. But I have to ask you, dear audience, Are you a good Kate? A Barney Kate? The prettiest Kate in all of Christendom? Nah! You're Kate the Cursed. But you're cursed here with us. We'll see you next week. Go eat some chocolate.
Cake, cake, bobe, banana, fana, bobe.